The video you're about to watch is actually part of a bigger course which is called ClickUp Fundamentals Mastery, and if you want to get access, it's absolutely free. You can find the link in the description below. And by the way, if you need help with your ClickUp setup, you can also find the link to schedule a 30-minute discovery session in the comment section below this video. With that said, let's get to the class. In this class, we will be looking into the ClickUp custom fields. So again, keep in mind the waterfall analogy that we reviewed over here, right? Of how those settings for the statuses applied from space down to the folder, down to the list level. It's gonna work exactly the same way for the custom fields. But first, before we jump into this, let's first understand what custom fields really are. All right, we're gonna go back to our example with the admin task, right? As I said, the admin task at the beginning, and we already learned this, is the building block of your ClickUp account. We said that ClickUp tasks can represent different things. It can be a simple to-do item, basically a thing that you need to complete today, for example, review hiring manager feedback, or it can be something more complex and represent a tracking item that goes through different stages throughout the process. Like we had an example for the job opening, where you had a task that represents a job opening, and then it goes through the different stages of the process, like draft, awaiting approval, ready to post, posted, and again, it shows you the progress of what's going on with that process. Now, the question about the custom fields comes up because sometimes we want to store more information and more details about the task. The way I like to think about custom fields is a way for you to track or to store context about the task. So what I mean by this is if you go to the admin task, when I'm completing review hiring manager feedback, I might not need a lot of context here. You can just add the things in the description and say, hey, Ilya, these are some of the details. But when it comes, for example, to the job opening, right? When I open this task, I want to see all the things, all the related data points and items that describe this job opening task, right? And if you go down over here, you can see the custom field section inside your task. By the way, if you have not created any custom fields yet, you most likely will have it empty, so you're not going to see it there. I'm going to show you how to create this in just a second. Over here, you can see all the pieces of data that describe the job openings task. It basically gives you more context, because if you're looking at this title, it says HR generalist. Like, what does that mean? When you go to the custom field section, it gives you more understanding. Now you know this is the department, this is HR department. The employment type is part-time. We're hiring for the hybrid work location. We need 2 to 5 years of experience, and let's say we just need one person to be hired for this position. The target start date is the March 30th, right? And the salary range, we're willing to pay between this and this amount. Now, when you're looking just at the name, it doesn't give you all that information, but this custom field give you a lot more context about what's happening with this task and what this task is all about. So what I like to say, whenever you're thinking about custom fields, just think about the question, how do I want to describe this task? Like what additional information or data points I want to provide about this task so that everyone else on the team can understand it better. And again, in this job openings example, it works like this. Now, let's go to the question of how do we create new custom fields and how do we manage these custom fields in ClickUp. As I mentioned to you, again, we're keeping in mind that waterfall analogy where we have space, folder, and list in the waterfall, and basically everything that applies on the space level is also going to apply to the folder and to the list level. This applies in the custom field example. So let's start from the bottom and go to this from the list level and go from the bottom up to the space level. We're going to start with our job openings over here. The way you're updating custom fields is by doing the same thing as you did with task statuses, clicking 3 dots to the right of the list name, and you're going to see the custom fields just above the task statuses option. You're going to click the custom field and it opens a custom field manager. Now, this is a window that you're going to see where it will be easier for you to manage all the custom fields. Over time, believe me, you're gonna have a lot of them. You're gonna come up with a lot of great ideas of what additional information you want to store about tasks. So this manager makes it easier to store and manage all those custom fields. You can see on the left-hand side, it even shows you the location at which you're at right now. So for example, for my job openings list level custom fields, I have all of these custom fields here. Now remember the waterfall analogy. If I switch to my applications list, you can see the custom fields here are absolutely different. So again, the custom fields I have on the job openings level are not applied to the applications level because this is the list level custom field. If I were to go to the admin task list, you can see I only have 2 custom fields here. And again, those custom fields on the list level from here are not applicable to the admin task. Again, this relates to this waterfall analogy and the list level at the very bottom of the waterfall. Now, if we wanted to go and check what are the custom fields on the folder level, you can click on the folder. You can see I have no custom fields found here. And the same happens with the space. I just go to the space level and I don't see any custom fields there. The reason I'm not creating custom fields on this folder and space level is just I'm a huge fan of keeping things simple and organized. So I like to create them on the list level first. Only if you need that custom field to be applied to multiple lists or to all the tasks inside the space, you can create this on the folder or on the space level. Now, let's go ahead and create one custom field so you can see how that works. Let's imagine I want to create a custom field on the space level. I'm going to click the space location over here. You can see no custom field so far. I'm going to click on create new field at the top right corner. Over here, you have a list of multiple different custom fields that you can create, or I should say types of custom fields. Some of them can be numbers. Some of them can be labels. Some of them can be checkboxes or money fields or websites. You can have a lot of different options. The most basic ones are drop down, which is basically selecting one options from multiple in the list. You have a simple text where you can just type in whatever you want, and you have a date, which is basically mentioning what date it is today, for example, or what date do we need to hire someone, as I showed you previously. Let's create one of the drop down fields and see how that works. So I'm going to click on drop down. I'm going to type the name. We're going to call it the new drop down field. The description can be put over here. Again, it's best practice to explain what that field is. Sometimes the names are self-explanatory, so you can keep it empty. We're going to go to the drop down here, options, and you can see I can select option 1. I can rename that. I can add more options. I can change colors to those options, right? I can even select the default value here. At the bottom, you're going to have the settings for pinned and visible to guests and limited members. When it comes to pinned, if you pin the custom field, it's going to just show up at the top of the task, and I'm going to show you how that looks in a second. If you make this visible to guests and limited members, what this means is that custom fields can be hidden or shown to guests. So if you're inviting someone from outside of your organization and you don't want them to see this value in your ClickUp and they are a guest in your ClickUp, you can simply uncheck this checkbox and it's not going to show to those guests. Sometimes it happens when you have some important information stored in there. I'm going to click on create and it creates the field. Now, if I were to go, and again, keeping in mind the waterfall analogy, if I were to go to the folder level, you can see new custom field appears here because I created it on the space level. It applies to all the levels inside the waterfall, which is folder and list. If I were to go to my job openings, we already had a lot of custom fields there, but we have now new drop down field, which you can see the location column says ClickUp process first training space. So again, it's not on the list level. It adds from the space to the list level. The same happens with the admin task. We have now new custom field over here. Now let me show you what that pinned option meant. So if I were to go to one of my job openings, it's just a good example because we have a lot of custom fields here. You can see that my custom fields, again, there are a lot of them, right? And for sometimes I might want to pin them at the top of this list over here just to see them easily. So I can use this pin item from here, or I can also add this in the settings as just we saw in the custom field manager. Whenever you do this, it doesn't matter if that field has value or not, it's going to always show at the top, right? If you pin multiple things, they're going to show again at the top as well. But whenever you're unpinning this, for example, and I were to I don't think it hits right now because I just added this field, but if I were not to pin this custom field, if it doesn't have a value, it's going to actually hide this field. Or actually I can do it like this. So you can say show one empty field, and then if I do this, shows it over here. If I hide it, it hides it. So automatically all the empty fields are hidden from the task view. If you want that to show no matter what, you can always pin it. So this way you see the option for hiding the field disappears from there. All right, so for the custom field, again, the drop down, you can see I can click the drop down and select the options that we just added. For example, my department option has more options over here. HR, engineering, finance has different colors, looks a little bit nicer. So when you're adding custom fields, just ask that question, how do I want to describe the task, right? And what additional information do I want to store in ClickUp to give more context to people who are working with the task? If I were to go to the application, just to give you some inspiration on what custom fields you might want to use, let's just open one of the applicants. Let's say Sarah. Sarah has different custom fields. And over here, you can see, first of all, the new drop-down field that we just added. By the way, if you want to remove this, just click on Added. Advanced Settings opens the custom field manager. at the bottom, you can see the danger zone and you can delete it. So I'm going to delete it for now. Whenever you delete it, deletes it from your ClickUp location. You can always restore that, but that's part of a different ClickUp class. So over here, the custom fields that I'm using, and remember, this is the applicant who is applying to the position. So the way I'm describing this task is, what is the application source? Where this applicant is coming from. This is coming from LinkedIn. What is the candidate email? What is their LinkedIn profile? What is their resume file? What is their screening score, culture fit score, salary expectation, availability to start? All those things are needed for me to make the decision in terms of whether this applicant is going to move on through the process or if we need to cancel or reject this application. So again, this is specific to the HR hiring process in this example, which is quite simple. But in your example, it can be something different. It can be maybe you're tracking opportunities, or maybe you're tracking accounts payable invoices. Whatever that is, those custom fields need to be added over here. And again, you're adding either by going to the specific location, clicking 3 dots on the left-hand side, like I showed you here, going to the custom fields, or you can also have a shortcut. If you open one of the tasks, click the plus button next to the custom fields, click create the field. It's going to have a quick window over here that you can use. You can also do this from a different location when you're just looking at the task and you're saying, I want a new custom field to be created. On the right hand side, you have a little plus button. It says add a column. You click on that and it basically does the same thing. You're selecting the type of custom field you want to add. You're clicking on the type. You're filling in the name. It creates the field in this specific location. All right, so these are the custom fields. And again, as we think about the tasks as the building blocks of our ClickUp account, the custom fields are essentially answering the question, what are this building, or describing this building blocks. They're giving us more context about this building blocks and saying, what do we need to know about this thing, or what context do we need to have about that specific ClickUp task. With that said, we're done with the custom fields, and we're going to be moving on to the third main ClickUp setting that you will be using, which is called ClickUp views.